struggle for the judges a little bit because this was a tough lineup to judge.
I wouldn't have wanted to judge it.
But I feel like they definitely got it right, you know, and I don't think anyone there questioned it necessarily.
Away we go.
All right, guys, episode number 69.
How many times have we recorded this?
We're back for Cutler Cast. Want to give a shout out to you guys. We appreciate you so much. We got a huge response on the last one. We did an Arnold Classic rundown. In the meantime, we kind of been traveling a little bit. You went to Puerto Rico, and
yeah,
I've been kind of just working on some projects here. And I think I don't
What
know
did you do last weekend?
I was here actually last weekend.
Oh, that's right. You were going to go to California, but the weather sucked.
Weather's been a little off. I mean, I shouldn't complain too much. I mean, I talked to my mom a couple days ago in Massachusetts. They got like 30 inches of snow. It's always like March the weather starts to get crazy. And we were fortunate. Like, we went to Ohio, and I mean, we've been there when the snow has been crazy. And
I think this Arnold was the best weather I can remember in a long time.
It's funny. Well, you were there for Thursday, and I think it was like 70 degrees from what I heard.
Awesome.
I mean, it was a lot colder when I got there. But we're actually going to talk a little bit about. I know we did a whole rundown of the thoughts and everything, but there's been kind of an aftermath, and we're going to talk a little bit about our thoughts on this because the judging's been under a little scrutiny.
See, you know,
which I don't agree with, but
it's tough because if you're not there in person, it's totally different. Like, you can look at a picture and that's when someone hits their exact perfect shot, but you don't see them come out of it and see them look a certain way. And I know you're not supposed to be judging that, but judges still see this. They still see the transitions. As soon as you walk out, they see you walk out, and there's just a big difference between people watching it in person and looking at pictures and trying to judge it.
It's crazy because I was a guy that when I was seen in person, I was much better than what the pictures show.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm going to throw back to some people call my best looks was like 01 Olympia versus 09. But in 01, you know, right now, if you put me and Ronnie, who won this, right? A lot of people, because of Ronnie's so popular and because he is recognized as like the greatest of all time in many people's eyes and like the biggest bodybuilding freak of all time. I think that people still are going to sway and they're going to vote for him, you know, looking online. But if you were there in person, you know, I was leading the prejudging by 6. I mean, clearly in the judges' eye, I was winning that contest. But I'm going to go on record and say, okay, as many of you know that follow this podcast, and once again, I want to thank you guys for your continuous support. Shout out to Celsius, too, who are our sponsor for the podcast and also our choice of drinks over here. I thought there was the top 4 really, in all honesty, could have been crown champion. I don't think there was anyone that clearly was head and shoulders above everyone else, okay? And that's my opinion, okay? I am not a judge. I'm not qualified to be a judge. I'm a promoter.
Why are you not qualified to be a judge?
Because I just don't have that ability to look in a lineup of people, and I'm going to credit our good friend Steve Weinberger, okay? He can look at bodies. He could put 20 people on stage, and he could pick like 3 or 4 immediately that are like close. And so I don't have that ability, and there's been this question on, okay, how do they judge this, right? And the truth is like the audience, it's very, very, it sways in a lot of different directions. And right now, the online community is shouting, why didn't Nick Walker win this? He finished second.
Okay, why do you personally think he did?
I'm going to get into that, but you know, I obviously have a relationship with Nick, probably more than the other guys.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, his parents used to bring him to come see me before he was even known, like in this business.
2017, we met him at the
so I mean,
Fit Expo.
So I mean, it's just, you know, I have that mindset that he was going to win. I knew Samson was coming on strong, but Nick beat him by 3 spots he was third. He was 6th at the Olympia a few months prior, whatever. Not even, how many, 2 months?
3 months, yeah.
We were missing the top 2 at the Olympia. Ramy obviously finished above Samson. He was 5th at the Olympia. And then you had Andrew Jack, who was 8th, right? Mm-hmm. Was he 8th at the Olympia or?
Yes.
Somewhere around
8th.
there. Okay. So expectations just goes to show you're automatically, because you place a certain way the show prior, does not mean that you can come in and win a contest. But Nick Walker, they're saying, lacked that fullness that he had at the Olympia, that illusion. Now, it could come down to matchups, and talk about a little bit about the matchups in your opinion.
I think it's a bit of both.
I went on record and thought that if Derek and Nick Walker would have go head to head at that Arnold Classic, I said
Nick would beat him.
Yes, based on how he looked at the Olympia. Now, I don't agree with that based on how Nick came into this show. And Nick will argue that he was better condition, but the overall look maybe was not as impressive to people.
The first thing that goes through my head is, I think they said he was 7 or 8 pounds less than the Olympia. Okay. Did he have 7 or 8 more pounds of fat on him at the Olympia? I would assume no, because he was in really good shape at the Olympia. So
he was third. He was third
exactly.
Against a hell
it's
of a
not
lineup,
like it's not like he was way out of shape and all of a sudden he was crazy peeled there. So where did that 8 pounds come from? And to me, when he walked out, you
were there
tell
on Friday.
Yep.
And I wasn't there on Friday, guys. So I'm going to go on record to say, you were there. I was kind of going by what the feedback was.
I was right in the aisle, right.
I saw
center.
Saturday night, and listen, Nick looked tremendous Saturday night.
Yes.
Honestly, that's why I'm saying those 4 guys, I wouldn't have been mad if any one of them won.
So what I noticed when Nick walked out, the first thing I noticed was he looked smaller in the legs and kind of like just a little deflated compared to what he normally looks like. And I think what happens is when you have that little bit that you're maybe down in the legs and the shoulders, and you're standing between 2 massive freaks that have
shapely guys.
Not only do they have shape, they're dramatically bigger. I think that matchup goes against him when he's not 100% across the board. His conditioning was probably 100%, but him being a little bit flat made him look a lot different compared to these guys. And I think that's why
he won the most muscular.
I mean, you can still be the most muscular person and still not have the best look on a bodybuilding stage. I mean, Marcus Rule is the most muscular. Was he more muscular than you?
Yeah, he was pretty muscular.
But was he a better bodybuilder? Would he beat you?
I mean,
you can beat Rolly Winkler. Rolly Winkler won the most muscular
true.
Many times. So I think that's good for Nick. But I think if Nick comes in his next show and has that same conditioning and is bursting full, now, it's going to take everyone else to be 100% to beat him.
Yeah, so just to go, I think Samson and Andrew Jack both have crazy shape, and obviously both needed, conditioning in different directions. I think Andrew, they say on Saturday, was a little off compared to Friday.
Yes.
I thought he looked good. Then we had, Samson, who had the best balance, but wasn't super shredded. And listen, I respect that, because once again, I'm not so sure bodybuilding should be won by the most shredded guy always if they don't have the superior physique, right?
Yeah.
Meaning the overflow of, unique body parts, right? The proportions and the symmetry and whatever else. But Ramy looked good, dude. Ramy looked good compared to what, and this goes to, I said it, people questioned me. I said Ramy can come back and be great.
He still could win the Olympia,
yes.
I believe.
And I kind of feel bad because he improved a lot, and he just was up against a hell of a lineup. I mean, honestly, I don't know if there's ever been a top 4 lineup like this since... even on I don't even know if it's in my era there was such.
I mean, the more I'm thinking about this, Nick getting second, everyone around him was massive. They're all about 6 foot or taller.
And he's not a small guy either.
No, he's not. But I mean, I'm just saying they have the height.
Okay,
the
but
width.
what does Nick need to do? Is this a roadblock for Nick when he goes up against guys that are shapely? I hate to say more aesthetic because they're like aesthetic mass monsters, right?
I think. I mean, Nick is going to have problems, but it's not just Nick. Hottie would have problems there. Derek Lunsford would have problems. When you have a guy that's over 6 feet tall, that has waist as small as the smallest waist up there, and isn't really lacking body parts, a good big guy is going to beat a good smaller guy. So they have to be 100% when these guys come to their own.
The problem is nothing's guaranteed.
No,
right?
that's right. I mean, look, imagine if Samson's off a tiny little bit, he could fall back to 6th, 7th, 8th. But if he's 100% on, it's same with Andrew.
I struggle for the judges a little bit because this was a tough lineup to judge.
I wouldn't have wanted to judge it.
But I feel like they definitely got it right, and I don't think anyone there questioned it necessarily. No. I mean, unless you're just,
a fan,
unless you're Nick's mom or whatever, of course, like you're always going to favor. And like I said, I'd have no problem if Nick won, but I'm going to look at it in a realistic and being on the other side now and not being on the competitive side. When you look at, how they judge a bodybuilding show and you look at like a symmetry and proportion and pose, you can't go pose to pose because that's, like you said, it's not strictly just the posing. Like it's the overall look. So you have to have that judge's eye to be able to scan down a line and be able to look at, okay, what physique stands out in my eyes that I'm going to take a liking to. And there's no real explanation of a judge's decision other than like, okay, the condition it just has to flow right and just look in your eyes as this is just better than the guy next to or two places over or whatever else. And that was opinions. I'm sure the judging panel went back and forth like, well, he looks better on this and he looks like it's very hard to judge. And I wouldn't want to pick that apart, but I really think Steve is he's so experienced in watching this year after year.
How long has he been judging like this?
I don't know. I mean, we just talked about the gym, and the gym's been there like 38 years or something like that. So, I mean, he's been involved. I mean, obviously he's had his hand in the industry for so long, but like no one's knocking the judging that the last few times, other than now, of course, they're shouting at Nick should have won, he got robbed, and Andrew Jack should have won, he got robbed, Ramy should have got won, he got robbed, and I feel kind of bad for Samson because Samson
he won
is coming into his own, right?
Yes.
I mean, this is the guy that we talked about, and obviously we have a guest on the podcast who favors Samson a lot. Yes. And, we were kind of contemplating, like, we got to see him standing. The showdown is when they stand next to each other, and the callouts matter. Now, the other complaint is Ramy started in the center, and they pushed him to the side. And because of the Olympian, they did that, and there was that controversy. Well, they pushed him out because he looked so good, and people thought he was winning. I think now there's some confusion when a guy, is put on the outside because they just see better bodies on the middle, and if you're not experienced in watching a bodybuilding show, what they'll do is they'll use the center stage, and they'll put the best bodies there, and they'll spread those bodies out all the way to the outside. So whether it's a call out of 5 or 6 or even 7, whatever, sometimes, most of the time it's like 3 or 4. On this occasion, I think it was like 4 guys or 5 guys. They push the lower placing guys to the outside, and then obviously compare the top 2 back and forth. But most of the time, they rotate them in and out. The question I have for you, because I thought there were 4 guys that were very comparable. Do you feel each one of them got a fair shake with the call-outs on Friday night? Because I wasn't there.
I don't want to say yes or no because it's not.
I know, but
I think
it wasn't rushed, was it?
It wasn't rushed, but I do think Ramy should have got put in the middle. At the end of the day, he's the most decorated person on that stage. And
I was just going to ask you that. Who was?
He is. I mean, he's got 2
Olympia.
Olympia
Who would you think
wins.
is the second most decorated? Clarita?
William Bonnick.
Oh, true.
No,
Clarita's pretty recognized too.
Yeah,
Two-time,
I mean, he's got
212.
212 Olympia, but, Bonnick's won 2 Arnolds, and he's gotten second at the Open Olympia. I mean, you could say Clarita or Bonnick. Bonnick didn't even get a shot there. Clarita didn't get a shot. Like, rotated with those 4 towards the end.
And listen, like Clarita looked amazing.
Yeah.
Akeem looked great.
Akeem looked
great.
I was Akeem for a long time. He'd come in a little bit off.
But Bonnick's been second in the show, dude.
Yeah.
Like what?
I don't know what it is.
Did he just get lost because of
He may have
the size, or
he may have. I don't know the because
yeah. We didn't I'm asking you because you didn't.
Guys.
I know, but did you notice? Like,
no, I mean,
did you pay attention to
I did. It just Bonnick wasn't. He just didn't look like he had what it took to be in that top 4. I don't know what it is, but he didn't have that pop that.
Why do you think there's so much controversy with Nick Walker? Do you think he's just a very popular bodybuilder right now?
Yes. Nick is extremely popular. He's a young guy. He's charismatic. He's outspoken. He's on social media. He comments back to people. He answers questions. He's a fan favorite. And a lot of people assume, just like anything else, they see his journey going from he turns pro, goes to Chicago, didn't do as good as he wanted to, and then New York, that's a step up. He wins. And he goes to the Arnold, wins. And he goes to Olympia, top 5. Then he takes the time off, Olympia, top 3. So they probably anticipated him keep moving up, but that's not always how bodybuilding works. As you're moving up, there's other guys that are improving too, and they could leapfrog you. And when I look back at the Olympia, you could have made an argument that Samson could have been in the top 3 at the Olympia. If you're not talking about conditioning, just from shape, balance, structure, the whole 9. So him coming up there now being compared next to Nick, which he wasn't at the Olympia, now you can see why he could move into that.
Do you feel Nick Walker can ever win the Mr. Olympia contest?
He's a guy that can, but I don't think he can win it on his own accord.
Okay, so if you're saying, can he max his body out to be dominant over anyone no matter what? Can he be in a Phil Heath or a Ronnie Coleman position? Or
I don't think he can, because Ronnie Coleman didn't have like any type of I don't want to say a flaw, but
the structure's limited, right? Because of his height to weight
and,
ratio,
he's got a longer torso, and that he's going to have to always be 100%, just like Dexter. Would Dexter have win the Olympia if he was 100% and everyone else is? No. But if people are off,
I said I gave the title to Dexter.
Yeah, but I mean, so if Nick's 100,
great.
He did. If Nick's 100% and some of these guys are off, he can beat them. But if Nick's 100%, let's just say Nick is 100%, Derek's 100%, Hottie's 100%, Samson is, Andrew is. Where does he place?
Nick Walker at the Arnold versus Derek Lunsford at the Olympia. Who wins? Does this body beat Derek Lunsford? I don't think so.
I don't think if it would have been those two, I don't think so. But then the other question is, Derek's strength is from the back, but Nick is really good from the back too.
Nick was really good.
He's really good from the back. So it might come close to canceling each other out.
If I could ask you any flaw of Samson's physique, why these online people think that it was Nick's contest, is it solely conditioning, or do you feel like he's not freaky enough in the fans' eyes to beat a Nick Walker?
I don't know that answer, because Samson's as freaky as it gets. You're not 290 pounds on stage and not an absolute freak.
Do you think it's okay that they compare him to Lee Haney?
No.
I mean, you're comparing a guy to an 8-time Mr. Olympia that hasn't won Olympia yet.
But I mean, he's 40 pounds bigger than them too.
I hate the comparisons of the past to the present.
Different. It's just a different.
The lighting's different. The
lighting's different. The expectations
the training was different. And listen, guys can say the drugs. It's just, you know what it is. It's the food, the nutrition aspect is way different, right?
I don't like it when, and I said this about Nick too, where people put this pressure, these expectations, and it's like, just let these guys just go do what they do. Mm. So if someone's comparing him to Lee Haney, it's like,
I know, but we had this talk about basketball and the GOAT, right? The old versus the new.
No, it's the same thing. Like I can argue what I think, but at the end of the day, you can't compare eras. You can't, unless you put people in live in person and the same lighting, the same this, the same that. You don't know. It's a great argument. It's fun to debate,
talk about it,
but you can't. Like, you just can't do that. And I feel bad that like Samson is going to get this pressure. They're comparing to Lee Haney. It's like, man, dude, Lee, he's one of the best of all time. I'm not saying that Samson can't become that, but let him enjoy his win and take some downtime. I saw he got married, so congratulations to him. Let him go get maybe a cheat meal for like a week. Just go enjoy life.
He's got some time off.
I know, but then let him just go. Don't put any expectations.
What could you say to Ramy right now? Because, you know, obviously there's been pushback also from his fans that he didn't get a fair look, or what direction does Ramy go? What does Ramy need to do to make the improvement? Now, he's qualified for the Olympia no matter what. So he doesn't have to do another show. So he can literally prepare for November pretty easily.
If I were him, I would, and I'm not no expert or anything by any means, but I noticed from the back and the side, he looked crazy. From the front, the legs looked a little bit not as detailed as they were in the past.
Are they too big?
They looked bigger now at this Arnold than I've seen in a long time. He probably just needs to, just take your foot off the gas for a little bit. Same thing, like go take the family out on a vacation.
Can he push that Olympia lineup though?
Of course he can. He still go look at him. Go look at who beats him from the side.
Do you think Samson gains the most momentum from this show,
Yes.
or do you feel Andrew Jacked is right there too?
Samson's going to gain the most because he won. In my eyes, he's the front runner at the Olympia. Whoever wins the Arnold is the front runner, because you just let's say after the Olympia, Hottie's the champ, second place is a front runner. Whoever wins the Arnold, to me, is always the front runner, because they've won the next biggest show. They won it. It wasn't a second. They won it. And the person who gets second at the Olympia could get first, or they could get, how many guys have gotten second and then got third or fourth afterwards? So Samson won a major show. So he got a ton of momentum. I think Andrew got as much maybe talk about him as the potential that people see, because when I look at Andrew, I almost kind of see if anyone had the potential to make a run like Ronnie did, I would say it's Andrew, because he has that structure that no one else has. He's got the width. He's got the itty-bitty waist. He's probably got one of the best abs and thighs ever. So imagine if his legs come up a little bit and Aceto's going to figure out how to dial him in, and he just puts a little more size on. He's a serious problem at whatever show he does.
Who's the most dangerous guy, you think, besides Hottie? Hottie Chupin's obviously the most dangerous. Right?
I was going to say, Derek is obviously as dangerous as it gets. I mean, he just got second in his first, Olympia.
What do you think he was thinking watching the show?
I don't know. I really
don't. He must be kind of relaxed on the outside and not dealing with any of this controversy, because whether he won or lost, he'd have to deal with a lot, I think so. Maybe he's smarter than everyone. I'm going to say this.
What I'm going to say here is probably different what other people are thinking. I would think he would have preferred a Nick to win, because he's more comparable to Nick. But now when these big guys are coming up, there's nothing he can do with a big guy that has shape like him. He could, you know what I mean? It's kind of like these guys coming in now, they're not there yet. Obviously, Derek is there right now. He's knocking on the door right now. I think
Derek outshapes these guys, though, to be honest.
But does he outshape Andrew?
Yes, still right now he's more dense. He has more density, I feel.
Yeah.
These 212 guys are coming out like crazy.
Well, of course, when you're shorter, you can compact it in a lot more. Derek is, he could very well win the Olympia.
What happens if they get rid of the 212 and then all of a sudden, the guys are forced to go into the open shows? What do we have? What are we going to run into with these guys?
I think
Antonio Burton's coming up. We've seen him. There's so many great bodybuilders. The list goes on and on. How many guys
still think
jump in these open
212
shows?
still has its place for me. I think so, because not everybody can push that envelope beyond 212. Some people, that's their max. Look at a Clarita. He's what, in the 180s? He's still got 20 pounds he can grow. There's a lot of guys. What did Sister Nino compete at? Low 200s?
I don't know.
You know, if there wasn't a 212, some of these guys might not have had a long-lasting career. So not everybody is going to be a Derek Lunsford or a Hottie or some of these other guys that can move up and be 230 or 240 on stage. Some of these other people coming up that turn pro, 212 is as high as they can go, and I think it's good that there's a place for them. If you're a lightweight or a middleweight at the USAs or nationals and you turn pro, you see there's a spot where you can go shine. So not everyone has the genetic structure to step up into the Open Olympia. So I think they'll keep it there. And think of how many guys compete in 212 shows around the world and how many actually jumped up and made an impact, 5 or 6. That's a small, a percent.
Many won't take the step. I mean, look at the classic physique and, the talk about, hey, Chris might go into an open show.
How would Chris do standing next to Samson?
You know what? I would love to see it. I mean, people
they're the same height.
Do you remember I spoke about this and I said, Chris about moving to open. Everyone thought I was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like it's a talk right now. Like there's a possibility before the end of his career.
I don't know how much Chris weighs on stage. I've never.
Who knows?
Upper 230s.
Listen, if he didn't, maybe he's at a weight limit. We don't know because
I think his weight limit is 240.
Okay, well, I think he came as a bodybuilder. Like Classic was just something that he fell into just by opportunity.
So the question would be if Chris stood next to guys that are his height, he's like, I think 6'1". So if he stood between a Samson and an Andrew.
I mean, they're going to outmuscle him right now just because, listen, he's following a protocol of divisional, like whatever they're supposed to be, right, for Classic. But it'd
be fun to see.
We talk about all these divisions, like, the Mr. Olympia, like we used to talk about the Mr. Olympia and Weider, Joe Weider started this Mr. Olympia. It was a show for the elite, right? And now, of course, they come up with the classic Mr. Olympia, the 212 Mr. Olympia. The Miss Olympia always been, but you have the Miss Olympia
bikini,
fitness,
figure,
bikini, like
women's physique,
women's physique. Now it's I guess Miss Olympia wellness, is that a thing or wellness champion?
If there's a division at the Olympia, there's going to be a champion crowned in that division.
It's a little confusing for a lot of people at this point because I know a lot of people right now they don't know the Mr. Olympia. Chris is so popular, right? He's become that's Mr. Olympia, right? Especially with the younger generation. They don't really they don't separate the divisions as much as they had in the past because now it's opened up so many and there's so much opportunity. Like they're all qualifying for an Olympia title.
Yes.
So they try to differentiate from what it is, but now you have all these guys crossing over into divisions, and you have a former Olympia champion in that division crossing into divisions. I mean, how do you feel about it?
As far as what? Like
do you think the Olympia, how many more divisional classes can they come up with for this?
I don't know how many more classes. I did see they put up, I think it is confusing because the Olympia up until recently never put it out there that there's one Mr. Olympia.
They give a Sandow trophy for, I don't have the Sandows. They have a Sandow trophy for the Mr.
Olympia.
What does 212 get, a cup or
or
they get a trophy now?
I thought it was a big.
What does the classic physique get?
They get a different type of trophy, I think.
So they have different things. So the Sandow trophy is like the signature. The problem is like people don't know what, like they know the trophy, what it looks like, and the problem is they changed the damn trophy.
Yeah.
So Phil Heath won.
He got
the gold one, and it's
big one.
and it's all bigger now, right?
They're
so
all
if
bigger.
you look at the ones in my office,
you got the little tiny ones.
Yeah, I know, but still, I'm one of the.
You're one of 17.
Is it 17 winners?
So.
And I have 4. And it's so funny when those things go online and they've been like auctioned before on eBay or whatever. They're like, Jay, did you sell your Sandow? I'm like, you crazy? How much do you think a Sandow is actually like? What is the value?
I don't know. They only make.
Is it like
it's
a
only
Super
the
Bowl?
one.
Is it like a Super Bowl ring or?
More, to me, it's more. Well,
yeah, of course.
Well, Super Bowl has real gold and diamonds,
course,
but there's 50 or 60 of them on a team, where there's only one per year, and from what I understand, everyone's unique. everyone's unique. So
do you think of the classic division, and I'm going to speak on classic because I feel like that's the ever-growing division. Yeah. Do you feel it's ever going to get to that status where, you know, they're saying, well, they should convert open versus classic?
That'll never happen because classic is made with restrictions. Anytime a division has restrictions, it's not going to get looked at as the same as the one that has no restrictions. You know, so I just don't ever see that happening.
You know, classic's been under a little scrutiny because, you know, the height, it seems like every show they height and weight people in, and it seems to measure different, or it's tough for these guys. I mean, are they going to have to adjust the weight classes is the question. I mean,
I heard them saying the weights need to be higher. I'm going,
well, you have the 202 Olympia went to
212,
and it stayed there. And you've seen guys walk away because they can't make the 212. Flex Lewis and Hardy and Derek Lunsford, right? Yeah. I mean, we didn't see a Derek Lunsford even at his best because he was limited.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing him coming into his own. I mean, can you imagine what this year is going to look like? I mean, he may smoke everyone off the stage.
He could show up and made insane improvements that he's never made before, and he could blow everyone off the stage. That's a real possibility.
So he won 212 and he walked away.
And he'd never done another show since.
What does that tell you about that? Like he wants that open class. Is he that competitive is the question.
I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming so because he does the work. You know he does the work. You know he does the training.
I mean, look at Clarita. Clarita has big balls, man. he stood next to Ramy.
Yeah.
And held his damn own.
Hey, no, I mean, I love seeing it because Clarita was that guy that just smiled all these years, no matter what anyone said, and he just and he just kept.
You know what? You know what's great though? He did not even come close to embarrassing himself.
No.
Like people are like he
beat other guys on stage,
and we're talking about
he beat Bonnick.
Like Bonnick, how crazy
second
is that?
at the Open and won 2 Arnolds. Yeah, he beat Bonnick,
and Bonnick was not bad. Well, yeah, I mean.
Yeah,
these guys not great bodybuilders.
What do you think? Where with the confusion with people not knowing who Mr. Olympia is, what do you think they could do to help get rid of that confusion?
I mean, I hate to say it, we're all kind of self-promoted now, and Chris seems to do the best job of everyone. Yeah. So I'd understand like the younger generation when you say that's Mr. Olympia. And Chris doesn't, you know what the funny thing is? Chris is Chris Bumstead.
Yeah, he's
not, he doesn't say I'm Mr. Olympia, or I don't even think if he was to sign something, he doesn't sign classic physique Mr. Olympia. He signs the C-Bum thing, and you have to respect that because it's like the Kai Green or Phil Heath or myself, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman. Like we do put our titles because I think it's kind of like handed down, but I don't think like he has to introduce himself and say, this is how people should know me. He's just so himself. Well known. Yes. Yeah. So I think
the only other person that's like that, Dana Lynn's like that. She never, you don't
course,
see anywhere
Dana
it says,
Billy, yeah.
She just says, I'm DLB.
So I think, it's all about experience and growing your personal brand to the point where this platform was a huge stepping stone for you, but you eventually become like I'm known as Jay and Arnold's known as Arnold. You know what I mean? Yeah. Ronnie's known as Ronnie. You don't even have to say like the last name. You know you've made it when you're to that point, right? Yeah. So I feel like that's going to come with experience, notoriety, getting out there, pumping your social media, interacting with the fans. I mean, this is, you see what Derek's doing now. Derek's grooming himself to become the next because he's starting to travel a lot and he's doing the media and, he's very, very aware of how to handle. Yeah. And this is what I expect Samson to, I mean, no one else is called Samson, right? Such a powerful name, right? Like he can just get out there and kind of promote his own self now. And once you win that title, I mean, that's the thing is the Mr. O, like we can sign Mr. O and it's like the big title. The other guys aren't signing that. I don't think anyone, even whether it's like Aaron Banks, I don't think he's signing Mr. O.
I don't think anyone signs Mr. O because it's
a respectful thing towards the Sandow winners.
At the end of the day, there's one Mr. Olympia and there's one Miss Olympia. The other divisions are, you are the Olympia champion at Olympia weekend in your division,
yes,
but you are in a division that has restrictions. It's not wide open. You know, I've had this conversation with people. Like, for example, the fastest man in the world is the guy who wins the 100 meters. You can go win the 200, you can go win the 400, the mile, doesn't matter. The 100 is the fastest. Same thing if you go to the USA's here. If you win the overall at the USA's, you are Mr. USA.
Yeah, but I could see like boxing has the divisions in different like
but they never had a
so you can say world
division.
Champion. Yeah, they never had one, and then it's
But
there's
Olympia
a lot of
did.
things like that.
Yeah, no,
I mean it's like the like Super Bowl champions. Da 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 da. Could have been from 4 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this year, I mean, obviously the Chiefs are the champs, right? Yeah.
But if you win the Super Bowl, you are a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah,
you won the Super Bowl. You didn't win a division that was a little different from the Super Bowl.
I think it's a broad range until people understood the business. I think there's, it's just more.
And maybe
they have to have more knowledge.
Maybe the Olympia should do that and put it out there and say, look, these are the different divisions. This is the title that this person wins. Mm-hmm. If you win Classic, you are the Classic Physique Olympia champion. If you win Bikini,
I think they do that though. I think they kind of spread it out and they give each one publicity. But when it's kind of like each divisional champ is self-promoting themselves, they are in charge of promoting that's the thing that's on their shoulders, right?
Yeah,
you don't realize it, but when you win a title, like that is your title for the year to promote and do everything you can to kind of go hand in hand. You can self-promote yourself, but at the same time, like you're carrying the division, you're setting that standard for it, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll always tell some of the other guys when they have this conversation about, who has what title. I always say, it's very simple. You want to be called Mr. Olympia? Just go beat Hadi Chupin.
I can't wait to see the showdown. But I want to talk a little bit about our month coming up. So let's fast forward to April because
the first week of April,
the 8th, is J. Cutler Desert Classic.
That's
here
the one
at the
here
South
in Vegas.
Point. Yes.
Yep. So you have the J. Cutler Desert Classic. The following week we have Cologne, Germany for FIBO.
14th through the 16th.
For people that don't know, FIBO's probably the largest, I shouldn't say probably, it is the largest fitness expo in the world.
I love the comment the other day. We have a WhatsApp group with our German team over there.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what they said. What they say something in
he said, he said,
hey, we need to get this done because I mean it's a big
largest
expo.
He goes, it's the largest expo in Europe. And I'm like, dude, it's the largest in the world. It's not the largest in just in Europe.
He goes, well, that's even better.
It is. Because for those people who have never been to FIBO, and maybe we'll do some behind the scenes this year, FIBO is ridiculously
It's 7 halls.
Yes.
So you have
some are 2 stories.
I mean, you have Arnold Classic and Olympia. It's 1 hall.
Yes. And then so like I remember the first time I went into FIBO, and you go through the front, and Phil Heath and I went, and we go through the front, and you get to the front, and there's escalators that go up and escalators that go down. But we went upstairs. So you get upstairs, and there's a sea of people as far as the eye can see, and you can't move. There's tens of thousands of people. Well, after he was there, I kind of just wandered, and I went to go downstairs, and you go downstairs, and there's just as many people. And you realize that's just one building and there's 7 halls. So it's probably, in all honesty, it's bigger than the Arnold Olympia combined and probably the LA Fit Expo, all of the 3 combined. So it just, every time we go there, it's always a pain in the ass because it's not in a major city. So you can't just go fly here to there. There's no flights from America that go to Cologne. So you have to have some type of layover in Europe to get there.
Unless we fire up the G650.
Well, dude, you won't pay for that. Or you can fly into Frankfurt, in which I did the first time, and you think, I'll save some money. But you don't realize you get your bags, and then the train station is attached, but it's about a 1/4 mile walk. So you got to walk your bags. And imagine if you got 2 bags, backpack, boxes, you get them to the train, and this train goes like 200 miles an hour to Cologne, but there's no place to put your bags. So you get on there and you have to like sit on your bags or find a seat, put your bags in a seat, and then stand up and hold a rail for an hour and a half to get there. So we got FIBO coming up, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of big names there like there is every year. And then
you have World's Strongest Man.
The weekend after, I get the World's Strongest Man. It's Brian Shaw's last World's Strongest Man, and there's no way I can miss that, because I've been watching him even before I worked with him and he became a friend of mine. I watched him on ESPN like 15 years ago. And for him to hang him up and for him to say it up front, because the last couple of years he'd always say, I don't know if I'm going to do it. But for him to, like, we spoke the other night and he said, I'm done. I know I'm done. It's time.
So when you come home, are you going to spill the beans on the podcast that Wednesday and say who won? Or?
Of course. Well, I mean, sure. After Brian wins, he'll post his picture up. Yeah. What are they going to do? He's
retiring. I thought they kind of keep it on wraps.
They don't let you film anything.
Okay, yeah.
And then
I have my Cutler event in Massachusetts, in Lynn, Massachusetts. I'll be out there for that.
Well,
Gym Hub is our main sponsor. Shout out to Gym Hub, Big Nate out there, who's actually competing in May in the 212 at the New York Pro. You know Nate that owns the gym.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
I think it's May.
It's usually
I think it's the 8th.
Is it the weekend right after Pittsburgh?
No,
usually it's a week apart.
Pittsburgh's the 13th, so maybe it's the next week. I have to look at the date, but
I've actually from well, they don't have open men at or any. I think they just have Physique and Classic at Pittsburgh. I don't think they have.
They don't have open men.
So then whoever's doing it doesn't have to. They could spend a couple days there and then go straight to New York. Otherwise, before you'd fly home and then wait 8-9 days.
I think it's the next week after. Yeah. So,
but yeah, and then we have
Carlos Thomas Jr. is doing his pro debut there.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't.
Excited to see him on stage. Yeah, I saw him and his dad out in.
It's been about a year. Since a year and a half?
Yeah. This was his show he picked to do it. And
are you going to go to New York Pro?
I would like to check it out, yeah. I mean, it's always, I don't mind going there in May. The weather's great. I mean, a lot of good memories going to New York. And
you know what that means? Steve. That means it's going to be horrible weather now because of you.
No, it'd be great. I want to go out and train at Steve's. He's got a bunch of new equipment that just landed there from
New Tech.
Our friends, yeah.
Did it all get there yet?
I know. He said yesterday it got delivered, so... On Wednesday, he told me it was coming, so I need to follow up to see if he fit it all. He said he had a lot of pieces come in.
That means they're going to be out in the parking lot.
I think no. Well, I mean, Jim, he's losing. He's got so much equipment there, bro. He's going to definitely he may surpass even the question mark of what the real Mecca is.
Of course.
Now, so
is there any way? And I've never asked him this, so I know there's a building there. Is there any way he can
I don't think he
get space?
I don't think he can expand, dude. The parking's tough there. I think even he's got such a.
No, but isn't there a business next door? Couldn't he boot them out and bust the wall in?
I think he's already expanded as much as possible. But we actually need to go out there and do a remote podcast at his place. I think that would be awesome. Yeah,
do a podcast in his office with all the historical stuff. Yeah,
a lot of stuff. He has more memorabilia than I do in my office. All right, let's go over a few questions because I know we had some fan questions here. We wanted to try to do this each week. So if you guys have any questions, please comment below. But please comment also about what we talked about today. Do you feel? How do you feel about this?
So the first question is, do you have any new Cutler Nutrition products coming out?
I do, actually. Hold on a second. I actually had them here.
You did? So what, I got to kill space? Should I tell jokes? Can I do my version of Chicarillo now? I'm trying to kill time.
I don't think you guys can read the label, so this is kind of... All right, so we have...
That looks like we have a white container.
Yeah, I know, a stem-free burner. This is actually a blackberry lemonade flavor. That's coming out. We have the tropical mango greens. This is actually coming. So we have a greens product. We have a Generate, which is the aminos, essential aminos, branched chain aminos. This is in a blue raspberry flavor. And we have a tropical punch Prevail, which is my... number one selling pre-workout, the number one.
Didn't you say you had some greens coming out too?
Yeah, I said it. Yeah, greens. I had
we trying to get healthy now, fit for 50.
Greens. Well, I'm doing fit for 50. Yes. Tons of stuff. We have a protein flavor. I'm going to say Monster Cookie that's coming soon.
Mm-hmm. Someone told me I need to do the fit for 50 with you, so I'm not so fat.
Well, you're fit for 45. When are you going to be 45?
Right after you turn 50.
October.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that's what's next.
Then I won't be a fat slob anymore. Yeah.
Come on, this is like PG, this podcast.
that is fat slob is PG. I didn't swear. They won't. Yeah, YouTube, you can't demonetize me. I didn't cuss. Where on earth have you never traveled to, or would you like to go to?
That's a good question.
Pahrump. What about Mesquite? Let's take a road trip to Mesquite.
Dude, I'm a hermit. I don't like to travel.
You're a pretty boring
a
person.
Yeah.
You're more boring than I am, and I'm as boring as it gets.
It's not that I'm boring. I'm just comfortable with.
Guess who just texted me?
What I'm created, who?
Tren.
Oh, no. The Natty podcast.
He said he's coming on next week.
Okay, so I used to say Thailand or Bali, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily on my bucket list. I have a friend that's there now, and he says Thailand was great, Bali was so-so. And it's just a long trip for me. I know you have more bucket list places than I do.
Yeah, but if you go
you just went to Puerto Rico for the first time, and you thought that was great, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I could go back there. I'll get a house there and only pay 3% taxes.
No, it's 4%, actually.
I'll pay. I'll find a way to get it 3%. Yeah, but it's not as far as you think. When we go to the Middle East, it's further than Thailand.
I know, but
because you can go from LA nonstop to Singapore,
but I have
a
great reason to go to those places. If I was to go bucket list, I know I just get really bored easy, man. I don't like to relax, if that makes sense.
I'm the same way, but you know
I guess you have to learn. But like my relaxation is really sad. Is like working out. Like that's my.
Then you can go work out in Thailand.
But I don't. This whole meditation thing, like
then
I meditate by
gear.
walking.
You get real gear there.
I just, dude, I'm content with where I've gone and what I've seen. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
See, I have all kinds of spots from Antarctica to I want to go to Easter Island. I want to go back to Jordan. I was actually messaging Anwan because Hunter and Lee are there right now. And he sent me a picture of them. I want to go see Petra. I want to go see like historical stuff. And, I don't care about monetary stuff like a lot of people. I don't care about material stuff. I'm more about the experience. And there's like the first time I saw the Great Wall of China was just like overwhelming. Mm-hmm. The first time I went to northern Alaska, just where there's nothing there. It's just raw nature. You can almost hear and feel the energy. And we went and saw the pyramids this last year. And there's little things that I want to see around the world that I'm not a big fan of looking at something online and being content with that. I want to see it in person.
I understand that.
Like I remember, it's kind of a little bit of a short or long story. I always wanted to go see the Acropolis in Greece. I've been to Greece 3 times.
I've been, yeah.
So the first time I went, we got in there and I, got up early, went down there to go see the Acropolis, and it was closed that day. I'm like,
they were doing always construction.
Yeah, how does this close? So about a year later, I come back and I'm all excited. I'm like, I'm going to go see the Acropolis, and it's raining. So they don't open. So fast forward 2 more years, I come back and I'm looking on the weather and I'm like, there's no weather problems. It's open. I'm all pumped up. I walk down the hill. I get down there. Somebody called in the B word threat and they shut it down. So there was like people all over the place. And I'm like, what the? So 3 times I just wanted to see the Acropolis. So now I'm done.
Yeah, I got to see all those amazing.
But I wanted to see it. And I
went
wanted
to
to touch it.
Santorini and watch the sunsets, and I went to Peru and I toured all through. I've been I drove through the country. The most beautiful scenery I've seen is driving through Germany into Austria, and I got to visit Arnold's home, and but just that scenery was, and I got to actually sit and watch because I had a driver at the time, and we've seen some amazing stuff to be able to travel to. I mean, I remember going to Dubai in 2008. Everyone's like, "You're going to be blown away by what's there," and I mean, obviously they were building the tallest building in the world at the time, and I think at this point, like, I've traveled so much. These plane rides, they just don't excite me as often, and I look forward to just enjoying every day, and I love what I do on a daily basis. I'm always on a vacation in my eyes.
Sometimes, I think back and I've been traveling really heavy for 20 years, even before the fitness stuff, and there's a lot of people that only fly a couple times in their life. I have relatives that have only been on the plane once or twice.
I have relatives that have family that's never been on a plane.
I'll look on my apps and I'm like, I've flown like 2.5 million miles in my life. That's a lot. Like people that are professional pilots do stuff like that. And you just at some point I think once we got locked down is the first time that I took a break from it. And that was only I still traveled throughout that, but it was the first time I was like, I'm not excited to go to the airport and go somewhere Because a lot of times we go places, like we're going to Germany. We've been there how many times? Or you go to Dubai, how many times you been there? Or we go to the UK, or you go to these different expos around the world. It's like we've been there so many times, but when I get a chance to go somewhere I have never been is when it'll kind of spark my interest, and I'll be like, okay, well, let me look up and see what's there. When people have their downtime, I'll grab a backpack and a phone charger or like a battery, and I just go by myself. I remember, I forgot where I was going, and I purposely took an 8-hour layover in Belgium, and I got off with my backpack, and I just went and got in a city bus, and I just let it take me wherever I wanted to go.
I stayed there for a couple of days.
Sometimes you just got to do that. Actually, you know where I was going? I was going to San Marino. It was actually the show that Marine turned pro at. So, all right. The next question, if you have $100,000 right now, what would you invest it in?
Easy myself.
And what?
T-shirts, supplements. I mean, I would use definitely some of the branding that I've done. I mean, if I was a general person, I mean, I'd be very cautious.
Especially in the climate we're in now.
Yeah, I mean, interest-bearing account. I mean, I would do something where it's just, people usually, they think they get money, and honestly, $100,000, it's really hard to say, well, I'd buy a piece of real estate. I'd look in the Midwest or whatever where there might be opportunity where it's more affordable. I mean, being in Vegas, dude, everything's kind of overpriced
it's more
right
expensive
now.
now,
And,
yeah.
Certain regions, right, whether in Florida, I mean, all these places where there's no state income tax that people flock to with the pandemic and everything.
I'm not like some financial investment guru, but I've always just believed in some type of hard asset that you can hold, and I know when I say this, some people might think it's crazy, but if you don't have it, you don't own it. And you can have an app or a piece of paper that says, I got $1 million in this account. Okay, we'll go take that and do something with it. So I've always been a fan.
Well, you just got to buy right. That's the problem, right? So if you don't have that ability to buy things, definitely. But I would definitely look for something where you can gather some interest on the money until you can make moves or some of it. I wouldn't
even now in the climate we're in, I look at something a little bit different than most people. It's not about where I can put it, where I will grow it. Sometimes you play defense and you say, I just want to make sure that it grows with the rate of inflation so I don't lose it. Because the time will come. Let's say right now, and I'm not no financial expert, but imagine if investing now is the bad time. But if you can find a way to play defense, and maybe a year from now or 2 years from now, there'll be a really good time to invest, where other people were a little more aggressive and they didn't fare as well, and where now you are in the driver's seat where you can. So sometimes just playing defense and making sure you don't lose it is more valuable than risking it. What do you like and dislike about social media?
I love to have the interaction. I love to be able to communicate on a second to second timeline with my fans. I love to be able to display all the great things, but I don't like sometimes the fakeness and the opportunists that come on to take advantage of people sometimes that, might be fooled by gimmicks or trends. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that, if you can't be naive with social media, and you can't always look at someone's life on there and try to say, oh, I wish I lived that life, because we all wake up the same in the morning. We all have the same kind of issues. Obviously some people are considered more successful than others by monetary or material things. Right. But so many more people have wealth of life where it's enjoyable for them. And I can tell you every day, we talk about this a lot. I'm very motivated when I get up in the morning, and I feel like I have a platform now to be able to display that. And, I don't put as much negative things out there. Listen, there's always negative things in my life, but I try to spill over, and there's not a lot of turns now at my age. I mean, I've had twists and turns in my life, but every day is a little more stable, if that makes sense. And I'm very strategic about how I make moves, where I know from my wrongs how to do more rights, if that makes sense. And I'm not really taking big risks at 49 years old as far as whether financial or even friendships or relationships. So for me, it's about putting positive things out, but having a following and be able to, I feel honored to have people that follow me for the right reasons. And, you know, I hope I continue to motivate people. Like, I know it can be life-changing for a lot of people, whether I go through and I comment on people's stuff on a daily basis. I was doing it last night and trying to, like, give people motivation and just something to look forward to.
Yeah, I think I've the thing I love about social media is I can see things around the world that I maybe have never known about. You know, sometimes I'll just scroll through like some reels and you'll see different areas of the world that you go, oh my God, like someone just forwarded me a video of places in Kazakhstan and you'd have no idea. Parts of it look like Iceland, parts look like Saudi Arabia. And I would have had no clue if it wasn't for social media showing this to me, you know? So I use it that way. And, you know, sometimes it's hard watching some of the fakeness that's on there, or the people that try to protract their lifestyle or protract what they have in a certain way. And I know it's not accurate, and it kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say it hurts your soul. But you know
people. What the nice thing is like, you can follow who you want to follow, and you cannot follow those people. And I always tell people, like, follow those people that are positive influence on you and that you respect and you can relate to. And those are the people, you know, when they say, well, you know, I get so distracted by social media. Don't put too much out there. Don't view so many. We love to watch the silly memes too. Let's not lie. You know what though? Did I send you the one with the dirt bike where the kid took off on the dirt bike and he rode it? Yeah.
You know what? You know. No, there's a lot of. There's
a good and bad, but let's stay with the positive. You know.
Yeah. What jobs did you have before bodybuilding?
I was a cook.
Were you a pig farmer?
Yeah, I was a pig farmer. Yeah.
You still are.
My brother, actually, my brother doesn't have pigs right now, but I was a cook. I worked in heating, air conditioning. I obviously did concrete in my family business, but the golf course was my favorite thing.
Yep. And you know what? We're taking you golfing. We're going to film it. I don't know if you're going to be a good golfer.
I think in time I could be. I don't think right out of the gate I would be, though. I think I have to get the swing down because I'm actually, my muscles are flexible, but I just think that it's a lot of technique. I'm watching online. That's one thing you just talked about, social media. There's these contraptions now that you swing and it's like a cage that goes around the person. Like, what the? That's not how you learned, though, right? You just took a club and you just went out and...
I went and grabbed a club and
I'm
so
I got disappointed I never took advantage of it.
Well, you should do it now. You have nothing better to do.
No, we talked about this, but I feel it would be very addicting, don't you? Because I think you have to do it over and over to be great at it. And I don't know if I'd ever be great. I never would say I was great at... I mean, even bodybuilding, like, I feel I did well, but today I don't feel as great as I used to be.
This is why you will not like golf. You're not a super patient person. And what happens is, it's not about me. It's about, you get on a course, and I haven't golfed in 20 years, but you get on a course and there's always some jerk in front of you that is awful, but they think they're great. And they just hold you up and you watch them.
How far do they space the tee times? 15 minutes,
15 minutes or something. But imagine if you get up there and there's 4 people.
Yeah, true.
And there's always some guy who thinks he's great, who's completely awful and has no business being on the course.
Well, that could be me at some point.
It's going to be you. But if you got 2 or 3 people like this in front of you and they have to hit the ball and it goes 8 feet and then they hit it again and again and again, it takes them, and let's say it's a par 5 and it's 400 and something yards down, and then they're walking and they don't have a cart. So you sit there for 20 minutes and they're hitting the ball. And by the time
I worked on the course, I used to watch this.
I know. And it's usually somewhat, I don't know. It just.
And it was a members only course. So of course, like, you brought certain people so the members would get mad at each other. But every day I saw the same people there. And I used to wonder, like.
And they probably are no good.
Because I came from a blue collar, like, where, everyone works every day. It wasn't like California where you go to the gym's packed in the middle of the day. I was like, wow, this guy must be a big business owner or successful. And that's how I viewed golf as, like, okay, successful people go to the golf course and they have time to do it. I want everyone to
go to YouTube and search George Carlin golf and listen to what he thinks of golfers.
Well, I mean, as long as we don't have to dress, I think I would be, I'd dress up like this.
No, see, that's another thing.
I put atomic spikes in my
Some places make you wear, like, collared shirts. And I'm like, dude, no, I'm not. I want to be comfortable. If I have to swing something I don't want to be decked out. I want to be in a pair of shorts. I used to golf when I lived on a golf course when I was 20 years old. And I would either go shirtless or a tank top and barefoot. And people would get so mad at me because everyone else is, I don't care. Like, I'm not here to impress you. I'm not trying to do a business deal. I just wanted to go. I would golf by myself just because I wanted to do it. And I got sun too.
So you probably would be pretty good at it if you just started doing it again.
If I did it on a regular.
But you don't enjoy it then if you stop doing it, huh?
Well, you get, just like anything else in life, you get busy and certain things and this could be a negative on me. If I don't see something that's helping me progress in life, I kind of remove it. And going and spending time to golf wasn't like a great enjoyment. I would rather go to the gym. So it's either some people don't like to work out, but they go golf and that's their thing. And I would rather go to the gym than golf. So I just slowly backed away from it. Every once in a while, we'll go to like Top Golf or something. And, my first couple swings are probably look terrible, especially because of I don't have depth perception anymore because of my transplant in my eye. But 4 or 5 swings into it, and I was back to driving it 300 yards. So, but I mean, I wouldn't be great or anything. I would be good enough to at least not embarrass myself, probably at my best. But I think we need to get you, when you golf, we're going to the thrift store and we're going to get you like the 1970s Caddyshack. You're going to have the little ball on the top of your little hat. We're going to get you
has a propeller or something.
Yeah, and we're going to get you like the plaid top and the bottoms that are like real tight and they pull up, and then we'll get you the little the old golf.
As long as you get me the Rodney Dangerfield like bag with the radiant with the boom box. And
he didn't even. All he did was push a button and it just and it hit it.
Up. Oh yeah, it's right. Yeah, that's right.
So
one of my favorite movies.
That would be a great on the road. Jay Cutler's first golf. It'll go viral.
We'll see how many comments
we got to get you lessons though. There has to be some.
I have 5 lessons already.
Where at?
Angie bought them for me for my birthday.
Why didn't you use them? I
haven't just got because I don't want to embarrass myself that bad. I have to get the courage to go up because when I'm not good at something, it's not. So I need to just go out there. She used to golf, so she has clubs at the house.
But your first time, it has to be documented. We need to film.
I'm not going to do that.
Why not?
Because I don't think that's fair to do.
Why not? It's so what? Do you think anyone's great on the first day? I think this is what we need to do. We need comments on the bottom. If you would love Jay to have his first ever golf lesson filmed, comment below. If you think we should keep it private, put it private, and then we will tally them up, and whatever one you'll do.
Let's see what they say.
So everyone, please say you want to see Jay so we can embarrass him. Just imagine the first swing, and then if you like fall or something.
I wouldn't fall, but I'd probably pull a muscle or something, Okay. Any more questions?
Nope, that's it.
All right, so guys, we want to thank you guys for following along. Tell us what you think about today's podcast, and we're working on a couple guests. I think for
we got like 3 or 4 lined up. So
we'll keep you guys posted. So for episode 69, we are out.